patients who woke up from a looong coma. What's your story? How different were things? I had a friend who was put into a medically induced coma after a bad accident that lasted months. When she woke up, she recalled being able to remember hearing everything since the moment she entered the hospital. She even remembered things her mom had said to her while she was being transferred from one hospital to another. She said things looked different than the way she had pictured it in her head, but she was conscious and heard everything. She just couldn't move, speak or do anything really. Not me, but my cousin was involved in a car accident in 2012. So I was about 6. He finally woke up from his coma December last year, just to wake up to a worldwide pandemic and many celebrities which he loved had died. His old house also got burned down during the Australian bushfires. In fact, the first thing he said when he woke up was, "How long was I asleep? Why are you all wearing masks?" Edit, he was awake for 11 hours or so before he spoke. Well, it first started off as a dislocated shoulder, and after they put it back in place they just kept giving me Dilaudid, and at first it was like every hour, then they switched it to every 30 minutes, then they switched it every 15 minutes, and I just got so sleepy they moved me up into a room last I remembered from the emergency room, and then my friend kept saying my name, but I couldn't move, I couldn't open my eyes, but I could still hear her. Then I heard one of the nurses come in, and she couldn't get me to wake up, so then the head nurse came in, and she claimed that I was faking it, but no matter what she did she just said I wouldn't wake up. So it was at this point they said that the nurse who was in charge of my painkillers put me into an accidental overdose coma. And even still in a coma they kept giving me painkillers for a while, like probably 1 or 2 days before the head nurse actually noticed. I mean, it wasn't a long coma, but I still felt like I wanted to share my experience. My dad was in an induced coma for a bit over a month years ago, had to undergo a very difficult surgery, and he had multiple complications afterwards, so that's why it took them so long to wake him up. Not a very long coma, but he couldn't wrap his head around how we went from freezing temperatures to nice spring sunny days. Maybe off topic, but I have to tell this one. He had some very weird dreams during the coma. He told us one time he dreamt about being at his own funeral, and I'm not kidding. The walls of the hall were covered in pesto lasagna. Okay, it's a bit less weird maybe since we're Italian, but I still laugh thinking about it. I was in a run-of-the-mill surgery. Everything was fine until they removed the instruments. Someone had forgotten to sheath the scalpel after they inserted into my thigh en route to my heart. When they removed the instruments my arteries were cut open from my thigh into my heart. I lost all but 1 liter of blood and was put on life support after extensive attempts to control my bleeding and 12 blood transfusions. When I came out of the coma 3 months after the surgery they removed 5 tubes that had replaced my normal bodily functions. At that time I could only breathe deeply enough to saturate my blood to the 70% level. Mid to high 90s is considered a normal range. I had, therefore, to learn how to breathe, something that is normally an automatic function from birth onward. It took 1 month to learn how to breathe without using an oxygen machine and an additional 3 years to be able to stop using the machine. Prior to the surgery I had 3% body fat and was leg pressing 1,100 pounds on a 5-day-a-week schedule. When I had a new to me doctor come to ask if he could examine me, I agreed but asked why he wanted to do that. He said he had previously examined about 20 patients who had similar mistakes made to them, but that I was the only one he had ever seen other than in the morgue, and wanted to understand why I was alive. Back in high school a girl I knew who was younger than me was in a car accident. She was in a coma for around a year, maybe a little less. When she came out of it, she remembered snippets of conversations around her while she was out, and even seeing a few people. The only thing was, she said everything she saw was red tinged, so she'd see her mom at her bedside, but it'd look like a red filter had been put over her vision. She was annoyed at how many times people told her it was alright to go on, that her mom could be free if she did. She identified a few voices she knew for sure and told her mom, who had a lot fewer friends afterward. She was 14 when the wreck happened and never made it back to school, getting her JED at 19. She still has mobility issues 30 plus years later, but she's doing pretty well now considering everything. Was it like a constant month-long dream? Sorry if it wasn't an answer to my reply. I see this as its own reply, but in case you were asking about the lasagna funeral dream, no. He had several different dreams. Most of the time he thought he was on a train in different places, maybe because of the moving bed, which is for bed sores. Another dream he had involved a swordfish, but it might be because his brain somehow recalled a scene from a famous Italian comedy movie. Then he dreamt of colleagues from decades prior and of dead relatives coming to visit him. I don't know what his brain was thinking. These I can all somehow try to rationalize, but the pesto lasagna funeral is the one we will never understand. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.